It's Saturday, January the 1st, the year 2000. Big Ben at midnight and a celebration like no other. Fireworks and festivities the length and breadth of the land. One other headline, Boris Yeltsin has resigned as the president of Russia. Good morning. Across the United Kingdom, people have been celebrating the start of the new millennium. Hundreds of thousands converged on city centres the length of the land to enjoy fireworks, street parties and concerts. The first babies of the century have been born, and there's no real sign yet of the millennium bug. According to police, the festivities have passed without any serious problems.
Big Ben sounding the hour and 1,000 years. The queue for London's biggest light show. 29,000 tons of fireworks hurled into the sky. £1 million happily up in smoke. The river of fire along the Thames seemed all but drowned by the flame overhead. Across the nation, winter darkness was briefly defeated. In Edinburgh, Scotland clung to her claim there's nowhere else to be at Hogmanay, whatever the year. In Cardiff, thousands filled the Millennium Stadium. And in Belfast, the Loch was the great reflecting pool. Here, the year 2000 really does seem to offer a chance to throw off divisive history. But the most spectacular party is under the world's largest dome at Greenwich, home to time. The Queen linked arms with her Prime Minister, welcoming the new year in a huge crowd for the first time, sharing the moment with thousands of people. A few minutes earlier, the religious and spiritual significance of this midnight was stressed by the Archbishop of Canterbury, leading the great throng in the simplest of prayers.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
But many parties tonight are powerful because they're small, simple and traditional. Shetland banished the long hours of winter darkness and celebrated its future. Nothing so gentle at Cardiff's Millennium Stadium, the Manic Street Preachers. In Ireland, music and ceremony had a more profound purpose. John Hume, one of the creators of peace, was in Derry for a musical link-up across the border to Dublin. The new year really does offer new possibilities. And the chain of beacons across Britain are a linking gesture too. Glasgow shot flame high into the city sky. And on the Thames in London, the Queen used laser light as the fuse for a thoroughly modern flair. Earlier in the evening, the Prime Minister launched another spectacular addition to the capital's skyline, British Airways London Eye. It is an empty big wheel after failing to get safety clearance to carry passengers on the big night. But that didn't stop another fireworks display. But the eyes of much of the world are on the dome in Greenwich tonight. Hundreds of performers are giving what they must hope are the performances of their lives. At the party of 1,000 years. James Robbins, BBC News.
Around the world, billions of people have been joining in the biggest party in history. From the first celebrations on the islands of the Pacific to the capital cities of Europe, there have been spectacular ceremonies to herald the year 2000.
It began on the far side of the world and came from the east. Midnight in Sydney, Australia. 20 tons of fireworks watched by a crowd of more than 1 million in Sydney Harbour. And then, through the predominantly non-Christian nations of Asia, the first moments of the Millennium year were celebrated, until a little more than 3 hours ago, midnight came to the place where it all began 2,000 years ago, to Bethlehem. In Manger Square, the birthplace of Christianity, 2,000 doves of peace were released. In Egypt, thousands congregated at the pyramids, monuments constructed more than 2,000 years before the birth of Christ. In South Africa, Nelson Mandela visited the cell on Robben Island, where he was held for much of the 27 years he spent in the prisons of the apartheid regime. He lit a candle, symbolizing the hopes for a better tomorrow for Africa and the rest of the world. The midnight hour approached Europe. In Athens, celebration centered on the ruins of the ancient Greek temple, the Acropolis. At the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, Germany closed the door on a turbulent century of war and division. At the Vatican, Pope John Paul appeared to express his New Year good wishes to men and women in every part of the world. And in Paris, a spectacular display at the Eiffel Tower. 20,000 lights and several tons of fireworks were used as France joined the rest of Europe as it stepped across the threshold into the year 2000. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News.
Other news at the turn of the millennium, President Clinton and Tony Blair have both praised Boris Yeltsin for helping to steer Russia away from communism. Mr. Yeltsin resigned as president this morning, telling the Russian people that he'd done all he can. He named the Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin, as acting president until elections next March.
After years of fevered speculation about what would come after Boris Yeltsin, it all ended like this. Thank you very much, Vladimir Putin said, casually accepting the leadership of the world's largest country. The transfer of the secure briefcase containing the nuclear button and control of Russia's strategic arsenal came next. Boris Yeltsin is master of the dramatic surprise. He used his traditional New Year address to drop his greatest and last bombshell. And in the poignant final moments of the reign of Tsar Boris, perhaps this is his greatest gift to Russia, that the long-awaited transition, when it finally came, was low-key, informal, and smoother than anyone he had dared imagine. Tonight, Vladimir Putin made his first presidential address at midnight, a new face for the new millennium. There will be no power vacuum, he said. There was a warning, too. Anyone who tries to act outside the constitution, he said, will be crushed.
Boris Yeltsin leaves the stage much as he entered it, with a dramatic gesture that leaves his political opponents in bewildered disarray. Tonight, he becomes the first leader of this ancient nation to walk voluntarily out of office and into retirement. Alan Little, BBC News, Moscow.
Most of the hostages freed from the hijacked Indian Airlines plane have arrived back in Delhi. The crisis ended after India released 3 Kashmiri militants. The Indian government's been criticised for agreeing to the deal.
Amid the wreckage of the Afghan conflict, the agony of Flight 814 reached its end today at the airport of Kandahar. The plane has sat here for a week. This afternoon, a sudden flurry of activity. Negotiators from the Indian government arrived to concede to some of the hijackers' demands. The Indian foreign minister was escorted across the tarmac to seal the hostages' freedom. On news of the deal, the hijackers warily emerged from the plane. Their identities are still unclear. Under the deal, this man and 2 accomplices go free. The hostages were whisked to another waiting airliner to be flown to Delhi. To buy their freedom, India agreed to free from jail 3 men convicted of fighting for Kashmiri separatism. Relieved Taliban militiamen were praised by Indian officials for their handling of the crisis. 8 days in, 1 man dead, and the hijack is over. The hostages are free. But the damage to the always fraught relationship between India and Pakistan is still to be calculated. From India have come hints that Muslim Pakistan sympathized with this act of terror. The hijacking will only worsen the tension on the Indian subcontinent. Adam Brooks, BBC News, Kandahar.
Well, back now for an update on how the Great Millennium Party is going. First, our correspondent George Eakin is in Trafalgar Square. George, lots of fun, but is there any trouble?
No sign at all of any trouble, Michael. People are beginning to leave. As the deadline approached, it seemed everybody here, and there were some 60,000 of them, was letting their flash gun off. A huge atmosphere, and then the firework display, something which, as the fireworks detonated rather like an artillery barrage above us, Nelson on his column can't have seen the like of it since the real Battle of Trafalgar. We really were agog. People stood with their mouths open, gazing at the sky. That firework display is obviously now over. It's raining quite hard now, and people are beginning to filter away from Trafalgar Square quite quickly to catch the transport system, to catch them home if they can.
George Eakin, thanks very much indeed. Well, how's Hogmanay going? Kirsty Walk is still in Edinburgh. Kirsty.
And Michael Burke, you should know what Scottish Hogmanay is like because you were the BBC's energy correspondent. Edinburgh is still going absolutely crazy. But it's worth remembering that actually in villages and towns all over Scotland there are street parties which are simply mini versions of this. But people are clearly used to an Edinburgh Hogmanay party but have decided to make this Millennium Party a night to remember. I mean, I imagine these crowds will still be here for the next 2 or 3 hours because they're in a party mood and there's still a long way to go. There's still ceilidh bands playing, there's still revellers in the street. And there's still a lot of very strange hats out there. So maybe another Hogmanay, you'll be in Scotland again, Michael.
Kirsty, thanks very much indeed. More stamina up there, I think. Well, that's the end of my stint. Can I wish you personally a very happy new millennium? I'll leave you in the just as capable but rather more delicate hands of Sian Williams. Sian.
Oh, I'm charmed. Thank you very much. I'm not sure whether he's disappointed or relieved to go. What do you think, Gabby?
Probably relieved. You can have a glass of champagne now.
Yeah, and a nice
welcome.
kip. Thank you very much.
How,
it's nice to be
how long
here.
are you going to be with us for?
Oh, ages. Ages and ages. Overnight, basically. Lovely. So lots more midnights, some sunrises. Brilliant. So it's going to be good fun. And I'm going to be bringing you, obviously, all the latest news updates as well. But first of all, I think we need to find out what the weather's going to be like for tomorrow, for New Year's Day, and cross over to John Ketley. John, what's it like out there?
Thanks, Sian. Well, I think most people have been very lucky around midnight. Actually, the band of rain that was around on New Year's Eve across the north in particular actually swept away during the course of the day, so things have changed as we've gone through the past few hours. We saw that band of rain narrowing as it's coming to the south. And that line of rain now is affecting the London area, as you can see. But we're not seeing too much at the moment on the graphics because it seems to have failed on us. Maybe it's the bug, that famous bug that Peter's been talking about. So we're not going to change the charts at all. But I can tell you that by the morning, most of that drizzly rain will have cleared away from all but the southeastern corner of England. A few showers coming to the northwest of Scotland. It will turn chilly. There could be some fog around, some icy patches out on the roads as well if you're dashing home in the next few hours across more central and northern parts of the country. And then as far as tomorrow's concerned, New Year's Day itself, it looks like being pretty good for many. Lots of sunshine around. We should see a good deal of fine, bright weather, but there will be some wetter weather again rolling into western Scotland. Not too good up there. And we're going to find for Sunday, in fact, that things do change once again. We'll see a band of rain then lying across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. That'll tend to push northwards again. It'll be pretty chilly. The big problem about England and Wales, perhaps on New Year's Day and the following days, that we're going to see some mist and fog around, particularly on Sunday. And that fog could be rather slow to clear across more southern parts. And where the fog does linger, on Sunday especially, we're going to see it pretty chilly, just 4 or 5 degrees. That's it from me. I'll be back just before 3.